At 2:07 a.m., my wife Rebecca sent me a message that instantly woke me. I'm flying to Paris with my friend. File for divorce if you don't like it. I read it several times, hoping exhaustion had made me misunderstand her words. We had been married for 8 years, and although we'd struggled recently, I'd never imagined she'd casually put our marriage on the line. I typed a response, deleted it, and finally decided to remain silent. She sent another message asking why I wasn't arguing. I didn't answer. Instead, I placed my phone down and quietly considered what she'd actually told me. By morning, Rebecca had already left for the airport. She sent me a photograph from the terminal, smiling beside her friend Lauren. Underneath it she wrote, "Don't worry about me. I'll be back Sunday." I didn't respond. Instead, I contacted an attorney and explained the situation. I didn't accuse Rebecca of cheating or make assumptions about her trip. I simply wanted to understand my legal options after her message. My attorney advised me not to react emotionally. I followed that advice. I gathered financial records, secured important documents, and continued my normal routine without sending her a single angry message. During the next few days, Rebecca posted photographs from Paris. She visited restaurants, museums, and beautiful streets with Lauren. Every photograph showed her smiling. She eventually sent me a private message, "You could have come with us." I stared at it for a moment before putting my phone away. I didn't want to fight over text. Her original message had been clear. She had told me to file for divorce if I didn't like her decision. I had decided to take her seriously. I wasn't going to threaten her, beg her, or demand she return. She had made her choice. On Saturday evening, Rebecca finally called. She sounded strangely cheerful and asked whether I'd missed her. I said yes. Then she asked whether I had filed anything. I told her we could discuss it when she returned. Her voice changed immediately. She asked what that meant. I said, "You'll understand when you get home." She became nervous and asked me to promise I wouldn't do anything before she returned. I told her I wouldn't make decisions based on fear or pressure. We ended the call shortly afterward. For the first time, Rebecca seemed to realize her careless message had consequences. Sunday afternoon, Rebecca arrived home expecting our usual routine. She placed her suitcase near the bedroom and called my name. I walked into the room carrying a folder. She smiled at first, then noticed my expression. I placed the divorce papers on the table. Rebecca stared at them and whispered, "You actually did it?" I nodded. She immediately began explaining that she'd been angry when she sent the message and never expected me to take it literally. I told her that wasn't fair. She had specifically told me to file if I disagreed. I had simply respected her request instead of arguing with it. Rebecca sat down and started crying. She asked whether I had stopped loving her. I told her I still cared about her deeply, but caring didn't mean ignoring what she'd said. She asked whether the trip itself was the problem. I told her it wasn't. The problem was that she'd treated divorce like a challenge. She believed I would panic, chase her, and beg her to choose our marriage. Instead, I accepted that she had the right to leave. She looked at the papers again and said, "I thought you'd fight for me." I answered, "I shouldn't have to fight you to stay." Then I handed her a second piece of paper. It wasn't another legal document. It was a handwritten note. It said, "You asked me to file if I didn't like your choice. I respected you enough to listen." Rebecca read it twice. Her hands began shaking. She said she hadn't realized how serious her words sounded. I told her that was exactly why words about ending a marriage should never be used casually. She asked whether the divorce was final. I told her the process had begun, but nothing had been finalized. If she wanted to save our marriage, she needed to show me that herself. Rebecca said she wanted another chance. I asked why. She said the trip had given her time to think, and she realized she'd been running from problems instead of addressing them. She admitted that she'd felt lonely and frustrated for months. Instead of telling me, she'd chosen to escape and provoke a reaction. I listened carefully. I told her I could accept responsibility for my failures as a husband, but I wouldn't accept responsibility for her decision to threaten our marriage. She nodded through tears. For once, she wasn't defending herself. She was finally admitting that both of us had work to do. We agreed to separate temporarily while attending counseling. Rebecca stayed with her sister, and I continued living at home. During counseling, she admitted that she had expected me to chase her after the Paris message. She wanted proof that I couldn't live without her. I told her that my silence wasn't proof that I didn't love her. It was proof that I wouldn't use desperation to keep someone beside me. Slowly, she understood the difference. I also learned that I had become too emotionally distant and had stopped communicating properly. We both had problems, but we finally stopped using threats to avoid them. 6 months later, Rebecca asked whether I would withdraw the divorce papers. I told her I wasn't ready to make that promise. We continued counseling and started dating again, trying to rebuild something instead of pretending nothing had happened. She never again used divorce as a threat. I learned to speak up when I felt neglected instead of silently withdrawing. Eventually, trust began returning. One evening, Rebecca found the note I'd given her that day. She smiled sadly and said, "That sentence changed everything." I told her it wasn't meant to punish her. It simply reminded her that words have consequences. A year later, Rebecca and I were still together. Our marriage wasn't perfect, but it was healthier because we had finally learned to communicate honestly. We never forgot the night she told me to file for divorce. The Paris trip itself became almost irrelevant. What mattered was the lesson afterward. Rebecca had expected me to chase her, but I respected her enough to let her face her own words. When she returned, the divorce papers and one simple note were waiting. The note didn't say, "I hate you," or "You lost me." It said only, "I listened when you told me what you wanted." And that changed everything.